Welcome to Lazy Reviews. Today I'm going to talk about Silent Night from 2011, the remake of Silent Night Deadly Night 1 from 1984. I already made videos covering the first 5 movies of this franchise, the original 5 movies. You can watch them if you want to, but you don't really have to, as this is a remake that drops hints at some of the other movies, but mostly just actually does something else. Doesn't have much to do with the original franchise, for better or for worse.
You really want to know?
I should just start with the plot because honestly, this is a mess. This is not a good movie. The movie takes place in Wisconsin during Christmas, where this police lady is tasked with, keeping peace in this little small quiet town. It's never really established how big the town actually is. It seems bigger than it should be, but also smaller than it should be. At times it looks like a city of maybe 100,000. At other times it looks like a town with maybe 50 inhabitants. It's just one of the many problems of this movie, but I'll get into them as we go along. And as an example of this problem, well, the police station has one sheriff, her, one other police officer, and a receptionist slash office worker. That's all. That's all the police that this town seems to have. Okay, so it's a tiny town then. Sure. And they are getting in the Christmas spirit. The other officer is a man. He's not just stupid, but he's also annoying and pathetic and a pervert. There's no reason to like him in this movie. It's not even just an underdog story. He's just, there's nothing likable about him. And that's what's so true for so many things about this movie. So she's pretty much tasked with doing everything on her own because the sheriff is not really there. She is about this Santa acting inappropriately. So she goes to him. There's this small, very bare minimum Santa fair or this Christmas fair in the middle of nowhere in this town, like this big open square or whatever it is, and this Santa sitting in the middle of it, and he's drunk and rude and, well, just not a nice person at all. And they do have a bit of a falling out, but while this is happening, we see a girl acting terrible towards her mom. Then she sees Santa coming over to her door. She opens the door for Santa, and he reaches in to give her a gift. But he then takes out this cattle prod or stun prod or whatever it is and tase her to death. She foams out of her mouth. It's filmed in a not very exciting way. So she dies. Santa leaves. There's this report that a Santa is going around killing people. One police officer goes to investigate this crime scene. The other police officer, the lead protagonist, goes to this house where there's also been a disturbance. This is the house where the movie actually opens up, where they just stole the opening scene from The Stepfather, which is great. They don't just steal ideas from some movies, they steal them from other movies, where the Santa killer is killing 2 people for acting naughty.
Very naughty.
It does seem like Santa is killing bad people. At least that's what it looks like in the beginning of the movie. And they discover this crime scene and figure out, okay, there's actually someone going around on a killing spree here, dressed as Santa. And while they're investigating this, we are getting another nod to the original movie, something we absolutely don't need because it's never used. The original Silent Night Deadly Night has an opening scene where this small kid visits his paraplegic grandpa, who's just sitting docile, immobile in his chair, not talking to anyone. But then when he is alone, the son is alone with the grandpa, the grandfather warns him about the dangers of Santa and that Santa will kill them all. This movie has that scene, only that the son is now maybe 16, 18. He steals money from the grandpa, and the grandpa just warns him about that he should watch out, that the dangerous times are ahead. Of course, no one believes that the grandpa just suddenly talked to him, and he leaves the building. A bit weirded out that this happened. And he's not shown to be a nice person. He shoves the nurse and everything. The reason why I say this is not used at all is that kid is in one scene in the movie. After this, only one scene. He's not the main protagonist as the kid was in the first film. This movie is just so that they can pretend it has anything to do with the original movie.
Very naughty.
And then while this is going on, the Santa Claus killer arrives at this set where they're doing, naughty movies, because this very small town has a naughty industry. Or is it a small town? We will see. So the Santa Claus killer comes in, kills the stylist, kills the photographer, both of them with not a scythe, takes it to the balls of one of the guys. The third person there, this naked woman, tries to hide in the bathroom, is then forced to jump out the window of the bathroom, survives because she falls on some trash, tries to flee. It's not in the middle of nowhere, but there are a few houses there, and you get to see a lot of the surroundings, and she flees into what seems to be a field of Christmas trees. She is caught by the Santa Claus killer. He chops off her foot and puts her in a wood chipper. And this is one of the few good visuals of the movie, him killing her with a wood chipper. That's one of the few things I did like. It's very grisly, but it is actually a fairly decent scene. Well, no, the scene is not good at all. Actually, it's really, really problematic. That kill is cool. The reason why I say this is really problematic, so this movie really doesn't know how to movie. It was not just a problem of them introducing a character just to have a scene recreated from the first movie and then not using that character again, except for one scene. It takes place in Wisconsin in December. It seems to be really, really cold. Also, I watch Red Letter Media. They talk about how cold Wisconsin is at this time of the year. So much so that they made it a constant bit in their videos. Yes, Wisconsin in December. The police officer is seen wearing this ushanka and warm clothes all the time. People are generally just wearing really warm clothes in this movie. So it appears to be cold. But as this girl is fleeing naked through this small town, we see her surroundings. The grass is green, all the trees are green, it looks lush, it looks like it's maybe early summer. But it's also fair for Christmas trees. How are we supposed to feel immersed in a movie that takes place during winter, but looks like it's filmed probably during the summer, because otherwise this scene makes absolutely no sense. It's such a terrible attention to detail, or complete disregard for detail, and not only that, so it's talked about how the town is tiny, but also huge. And that's because in the background of the scene, we see apartment buildings that are maybe 10, 15 stories high. This is not something you would have in a small town in America. That's why I say maybe at least 100,000 people live in this place. But no, because this police department has 3 people there. This movie is so inconsistent. It's so poorly made. There's so little attention to detail. They didn't give a shit. And I haven't even talked about the terrible, terrible, terrible sound design, the terrible, terrible, terrible cinematography. The movie is bland and ugly to look at. Everything is gray, everything is oversaturated, everything is white or black, or there's no color, there's no life, there's no charisma, there's no acting talent. Why do they need to do this with these movies? Why do they need to remake something and make it so bad? Just to earn that fucking money, this fucking business. I did not like this movie. I really did not like this movie. And that's why I want to get this over with. So let's fast forward a bit. He's killing these people. The police officers are trying to investigate things. Michael McDowell shows up as the sheriff. It's also revealed that the father of the girl was a police officer in this town. So it's just a huge, everyone is a police officer. They are investigating different Santas to find the killer. They come across this weird Santa who talks about this story of a Santa whose wife was unfaithful or something to him, so he decided to kill her with a flamethrower. And since then, every Christmas has taken revenge on different towns by killing people there. Naughty people. And this drunken Santa is dismissed as being the culprit at first, although he is a suspect. But then later they start taking in these different Santas. Someone is being held in the prison cell. They're really struggling finding out who's actually the troublemaker in this. Some more people are killed. They find out that there is a connection between these people that he's killing. Not that it's well established, like there's this really terrible person, this really terrible priest who's killed, but he also doesn't kill the only witness to it, this older lady. He instead gives her money. So he does seem to care about it and only punish the guilty people until that's no longer relevant for the movie because this movie is bad. When I said that this son of the paraplegic grandpa is in one more scene, it's this scene because the Santa shows up at this house of a wealthy man, maybe the mayor, kills him, then goes on to find this couple, this son and this girl who's also been seen in 2 scenes earlier. They are about to do it. But movie being movie doing movie things, movie doing movie bad movie trope things, has them not just having sex. The woman gets up, seemingly looking at the man, and goes into the bedroom. The man doesn't enter the bedroom, but the door opens. But then he comes out of the closet to scare her. I hate when movies do this. Who is about to have intercourse decides to ruin the mood by scaring her like this? It's something that so many movies do. It always breaks immersion because this feels so damn unrealistic. Who would actually do this? It's so stupid and I want it out of my movies. Anyway, this movie does it. And of course, it's actually the person who opened the other door. It's the Santa killer, so he kills her and he kills the boyfriend or this guy, the grandson. And the way he kills her is by impaling her on some antlers, something we saw in the first film, another ode to the first film. That's a decent kill. Honestly, that's another okay scene. The kills in this movie are generally quite okay. Everything except for the kills is terrible. Like it's the worst of the worst. But the kills are so good or so decent that this as a slasher I can't give it the worst rating because it does what a slasher is supposed to do, give you good kills. It's just everything else about it fails spectacularly. And not just fails, but it looks like they didn't even try. They didn't even try to make a good movie. They didn't even just half-ass it. They did the bare minimum. And that's why I can't forgive this movie.
You know, I don't like your attitude.
There are a few more things I want to say about this movie, but I really don't want it to waste much more of my life than it already has. This is another huge problem that they didn't even do enough research or put enough effort into it to get the references right. The Santa killer is not saying naughty when he kills someone. He says not nice.
Not nice.
And he says it once. So it's not even something he says. At least do the naughty if you want to make a remake that is so terribly forced. At least say naughty and not nice. At least put in that effort. But no, this movie doesn't do that. It has a few more decent kills. It has some decent showdown at the end where there's a big fight. But again, it's terribly, terribly stupid with some very, very bad one-liners. This Santa is just going around killing everyone. So we have Michael McDowell facing off against the Santa killer. The Santa killer comes into the police station with a flamethrower, points it at Michael McDowell. And while Michael McDowell is aiming his pistol at Santa, he says, "Big mistake." I don't know how. What does he sound like? Big mistake bringing a flamethrower to a gunfight. And then he's burned alive. Because instead of, oh shit, this guy has a flamethrower, I'll shoot him. As any person would do. No, you have to make a one-liner that takes so long to say that you're burnt alive. And not just that, a one-liner that is so stupid in context when you're saying it's a big mistake, but the mistake is actually you not firing at him while saying that line. This is garbage. This is movie garbage. This script is poop. This script is who greenlit this thing? This is so bad. This is really bad.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Anyway, to round it off, the plot is, and this is why I also hinted at the plot being very inconsistent. The person who is the killer Santa is actually not the killer from the tale, the one whose wife betrayed him or, who decided to burn his wife alive. But it is his son. The motivation is that right after killing the wife, a police officer rolled up and shot dead the father. This police officer was the lead protagonist's father. The son of the guy with the flamethrower then saw this happen as it was happening. And that is why he wants to take revenge. That is why he's using a mask so he wouldn't be recognized. Because does that actually make sense? I don't think the movie actually explains why anyone would recognize him. He was a child at the time. This movie, man. I could be wrong about this detail, but I don't think I am. This is so fucking stupid. Like, oh yes, we will recognize this guy who was 7 years old at the time, now that he's in his late 30s or early 40s. Sure, that makes sense. Anyway, he went on this killing spree to take revenge on everyone involved in hurting his father. The priest was also involved in harming his father, so that's why he killed the priest. But then why does he kill everyone who seems to be naughty? That doesn't make sense. Like, they are having a cake and eating it too. They have it as a revenge story, but also like a vigilante story. Vigilante is the wrong word here, but someone killing people he thinks are morally corrupt. That's what this movie is doing. That's why it doesn't work. That's why, there's so many reasons why it doesn't work. This is another example of it. They're not consistent. They didn't write a consistent story. It just changes at the whim whenever it's convenient. Because this movie is bad. Because it was written by incompetent people. Because it was filmed by incompetent people. Because it was directed by incompetent people. And that's why I will leave it. This movie is bad. Obviously. Even if some of the kills are good, it's not worth your time. This movie is really not worth your time. It just isn't. Really isn't. But that's what I have to say about this movie. It's the end of a franchise. Once again, the last movie in a franchise is a remake. Once again, the last movie of a franchise that is a remake is a terrible movie. Why does this keep happening? Why can't they just leave our franchises alone? Well, sometimes it's good, like Halloween from 2018 is a good movie. Sometimes remakes are okay. Or delayed sequels, as that movie was. But this is what I'm doing to hurt myself. I'm a sadist, apparently, because this is... No, masochist. No, I'm also sadist, because I show these movies, I guess. Make these videos so you can share my pain. Anyway, I'm exhausted after this terrible movie. I hope you had a better Christmas than I did watching this garbage. Take care. Bye.